Access granted.
Hello there, people, and welcome back to the next stage on your leveling experience in World of Warcraft. We are now at level 10, and it's time to choose our class. So I will just briefly go over like a quick little thing about what classes you have to choose from. So there are like 3 classes in an MMO, and that's a healer, a tank, and a DPS. And some classes in World of Warcraft can be all 3, and some can only be 2, and some can only be 1. So the one we took here can be all 3. As you can see down here, we are by default as a distribution, and that's a damage. You can go in as a tank by activating it down here, and we go in as a holy. The tank is called protection, and holy paladin is called the healer. And you can read a little bit about it up here. You can change these out as you want now. But what is, like, let's say a tank? Like, how do you see a tank in an MMO, in this kind of MMO? And basically a tank is like, imagine you're like a big dude like an Arnold Schwarzenegger or something like that in the group, and you're like the person that goes out in front. You hit slow, but you hit hard. You can take a lot of damage, like hits to your body and all that. And your main focus are like on the big dudes to keep them occupied while your other guys are doing their shit. So you're basically... A lot of people say that the tank is kind of like, if you're doing group work, is kind of like the boss of the... like he decides the tempo of the dungeons and raids and all that. And he's normally also the raid leader in raids and all that. Because he has that perspective, and he don't have so many things to deal with. Like a DPS has, where he has to be on it all the time, because you get a little bit of downtime. They still have a lot to do, but for normally they're not that occupied. Some say they are. It's like a little like debatable thing, but a lot of tanks are, like I said, the leaders of the dungeons groups and all that. And a lot of people, if they play the game right, will wait for the tank to do like, to pull mobs, as we say in here, like to go in and basically start the fight. They start the fight, and then the DPS finish the fight. And while the tank is keeping all the ads and all that, and the big boss away from the healer, and protecting the healer, and the DPS for taking a lot of damage. So he's basically like a damage sponge. I hope that was like really basic. And then we can go up and talk about the healer. The healer, you're like the combat medic. Like you sit around, you do a little bit of DPS if necessary, but you're basically keeping up like people healthy. You throw them a little like a med pack here and there, and you give them a little bit healing here and there, and it's a little bit more relaxed, if you ask me, to be a healer than being a tank or DPS. For the most part, a healer is one that a little bit in the background of all the action, and then just throw heals out left and right. And depending on how big the group is, like if we're talking on raids, like they're like healers, they can also be like separated up in groups. Like some deals with tanks, some deals with DPS, and some deals with canceling poisons and all that shit. But that's another debate. But just think that as a combat medic, you're a little bit on the back end of all the action, but your main goal is to keep the tank up and the DPS up, but mostly the tanks alive, because if the tanks die, you die, and the DPS die. If one DPS do die, that's not so big of a deal. If a tank die, you're kind of fucked for the most part. If a healer died, you're definitely also fucked. So the tank and the healer are in that little group where you're like, in my opinion, the two most important people in a dungeon. And if we're talking raids, I will still say that the healers and the tanks are the most important people. You can go with losing some DPS in both dungeons and raids, and you can still kinda get out of it if you're a little bit lucky and all that. But if you lose like all your tanks or your healers, or like just in a raid, if you lose one tank sometimes, you're kind of busted. And the same in a dungeon. If we're talking end level dungeons, you're also busted. Again, I hope this make a little bit sense. If not, I will try, and if you have some questions about the class, I will try and help you out down below in the description, not description, but comment section. And then we have like the DPS class, and that's the one that I recommend all new people try to do in the beginning, because it's not so demanding. Like I said, you're 1 out of 3 guys in a group. Like if you say dungeons, that you will be doing most of when you're leveling up. So if you die, it's not that big of a deal. Where if you're a tank, there's a lot of pressure, you can say, on you in a dungeon, and the same with a healer. They notice more that if you fuck up as a tank and a healer than they do as a DPS. Even though people are fucking around about, oh, what's your DPS and all that. Don't think about that when you're leveling up. When you're leveling up, you're just playing to level up. You're not playing to be the best on the DPS meter. So if people rage about that, then just kick them in the balls. You have my permission. So I recommend, like, if you're totally new to an MMO, go as a DPS, because it's like an all-rounder, and it can be really competitive, but it can also be really, really relaxed. Like, I will not say that you can just sit back in a dungeon and not do anything because people will kick you, but like I say, if you fuck up, it's not that big of a deal. Where if a tank fucks up all the time, or a healer fucks up all the time, so it can be a little bit of a problem, and people tend to be really salty towards that. So yeah. So anyway, we have chosen this one. I hope this this helped you out a little bit. And again, you can change them out and try them out. But I would recommend that you level up to level 110 as one class when you first try it out. And I would recommend, if you never played an MMO before, you go as a DPS. And then we have the talent systems down. Sorry, we got... I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah. You unlock, when you're leveling up, you unlock spells and all that. You can see here the unlocks. And you also later on get into, like, where you can choose between 3 spells for every tier and all that, but we will get to that. Also at level 10, you get the opportunity to go into Group Finder and do some PvP. There it is, yeah, casual PvP. Some people like that. I would not recommend it for, you can also do war games, it seems, and recreate. Don't think about this one. Just if you want to try out PvP, then go in and do that. Specific, you can choose one of those 2. I will not recommend that. There's a lot of really good PvP players that stay level 10 just to grind out noobs and own them. Basically lock their level cap to level 10. Or I think it's level 15, it cuts off or something like that. And they just like go in. I'm not so familiar with the PvP because I do mostly PvE, but you can go in and try PvP for the laugh, but I would not recommend doing only that, because it can be a toxic environment. And like I said, there's a lot of those tryhard that stays around level 10 and just have the best gear you can get and only do to basically just because they feel big and strong and going in and grinding out noobs. Another thing that I will recommend you guys doing at level 10. Just a quick side note. I hope you all already find out how to like equip gear and all that. Like when you get it from people in your inventory. Like what I mean with equip it, like sell it and all that shit. Because I know you know how to equip it. So you just go in here and then you just right click on it and sell it. If your bag gets full. But you should have figured that. That's really intuitive. And don't think so much about gear either here in the beginning, because it will get replaced really, really fast. Like some gear you only have on for like 10 minutes and you get another gear. So again, don't think about gear until you reach max level. So back to what I wanted to say is that I recommend that if you are an alliance, as we are, you go into Stormwind as the first thing after you, let's say you chose a class. If you not have done this already, or if you are Horde character, you go into Orgrimmar. And basically why you do that is I like to set my Hearthstone, and I will show you guys how to do that in Orgrimmar or Stormwind for my leveling experience, because then I can always just go back there and get the rested XP. And rested XP is basically if you log out in a city or in a tavern, you get more XP when you get out, like when you log in again. So the longer you've been AFK, like logged out, the more XP buffs you get basically. You can see that those little sets down. I don't know if you actually can see that, but they will come. I have some add-ons activate on this one. Maybe I should just remove all those for sake of the... We can leave that on for sake of this video. So bear with me while I'm doing this. Leave that on also. Let's reload. There you go. You can see the sets up here now. And in this case, the one I always set it to in Stormwind is up here. I know a lot of people set their Hearthstone to the inn in the area they are questing. But the questing is so sporadic and you're all over the place until you reach, like, I think I would say like level 80. Then you tend to spend a lot of time in the same place. But I just recommend doing it here because you can always fly to that area that you need to be in, or just go into an inn there. But yeah, anyway, in every inn and all that, you can set your Hearthstone, and the Hearthstone is this little guy down here, and you can just make this your home.
Farewell.
So what that's basically do is, like, if you're out in the world and questing and all that, and you get lost, or you just want to go back to your main city, and that's also the reason why I like to have it in the main city, is that you can just click this little stone down here. You can even put it down here in the bar as a key press on 5 or shift 5 or something like that, and it will teleport you back to that inn that you have it set to, and it has like 30 minutes cooldown. I could swore that it was like an hour before. But yeah, that's like the main things that I wanted to stress out, or not stress, that I want to point out that has changed from level 0 to 10. The next big thing is level 15, where you unlock dungeons, and that's where your group ability or class ability comes into play, like I said, where you if you're a tank or healer and all that. And I will pick up at level 15 and have a little talk about what's next after level 15 and what to do and all that. What I think you should do. And then, yeah, we can have a talk about that. So I will see you guys at level 15. I will go and level this little dirty old man up to level 15. And again, questions or anything like that, please ask me them so I can help you guys out, because I like helping people out. So I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.